Welcome to the Voice of Sweden. Join us and activate the bell. Subscribe to receive all our daily news. Online application to Sweden. Instructions for online application for applicants who are married or cohabiting with someone in Sweden. On this page, you can find information on how to make an online application for a residence permit to move to someone in Sweden who is your spouse, a registered partner, or a cohabiting partner. Making online application makes it easy to you to get it right from the start. When you make an online application, you will be given clear instructions on how to fill in the application form and what you need to enclose, which means you are more likely to receive a decision all the sooner. Your close relative may apply for you online. Your family member in Sweden can make an online application for you if you give him or her a power of attorney. A copy of the power of attorney should be attached to the online application. If your close relative is going to make an online application for you, he or she first needs to complete the application for you and then complete a questionnaire himself or herself. Instructions for filling in the questionnaire are sent to your relative by email when the application has been received by the Swedish Migration Agency. Number 1, fill in the application. Continue to the application. In the application, you will fill in details about yourself and the person in Sweden you will be moving to. You will also need to send various documents apart from the address. Phone number and email address of the family member in Sweden. You also need his or her Swedish personal identity number. Before you apply, you should check whether the person you are going to move to in Sweden is covered by the maintenance requirement, and if so, whether they fulfill it. Read more about the maintenance requirement. You should also state which Swedish embassy or consulate general you will be visiting to have your interview. You should visit the embassy or consulate general in the country in which you live. Not the Swedish embassies and consulates general deal with immigration cases. You can find information about which embassy or consulate general you should contact on the Swedish Embassy's website. Sweden abroad. Swedish embassies and consulates general external link opens a new window. If you have children under 18 years of age who will accompanying you to Sweden, you can apply for a residence permit for them at the same time. In order to apply online, you and the person you are moving to in Sweden must be 18 years of age or older. You need a valid email address. You will need to be able to pay application fee by Visa or MasterCard. You will need to be able to scan a photocopy the documents that are to be attached. Read more about the requirements for online application. Number 2, attach documents. Documents to be enclosed. Copies of the pages in your passport that should show your personal details. Period of validity, country of issue, signature, and whether you have a permission to live in countries other than your country of origin. If your passport is about to expire, you should renew it, as you cannot obtain a permit for longer than the validity of your passport. If you are married to or the registered partner of the person in Sweden, you will also need to attach population registration certificate, tenancy agreement, or proof of purchase for your accommodation, or other document that shows you have shared accommodation. A document showing that you have been living together, for example, a tenancy agreement on which both of your names appear, or previous bills showing your name and address. If you are expecting a child, you should also attach certificate of pregnancy. If you have children under 18, you will be moving with you to Sweden. You should also attach copies of the child's passport that show personal details, photo signature if applicable, passport number, country of issue, power of the validity, and whether the child has permission to live in countries other than their country of origin. Their birth certificate or birth certificate showing the parents' names, consent from the other custodian that the child may move to Sweden with you. If this person is not accompanying you to Sweden, a court decision, if you have sole custody, or death certificate if the other parent is deceased. Adoption papers if the child is adopted. Consent for children under 18 years of age. In Sweden, both custodial parents have the right to participate in decisions that concern their child. Therefore, if the other custodian is not accompanying you to Sweden, they must give their consent for the child to move to Sweden. Their consent can be given in a letter signed by the other custodian who states that he or she agrees to the child's moving to Sweden. The letter of consent should contain the name, date of birth, and address of the parent given their consent, the name and date of birth of the child the consent relates to, The parent's agreement for the child to be granted a residence permit to take a residence in Sweden, signature and name in clear script of the parent giving their consent. All documents you submit should be translated into Swedish or English by an authorized public translator. The document must be attached in the original at all times. Check that the information given in the documents you attach is clear. Digits and characters at the very top and the very bottom of your passport must also be clearly visible on the copies of your passport. Number 3, pay the fee. In most cases, you will pay a fee for the application. You pay the fee with a credit card or a debit card. The application will know whether or not you need to pay, depending on the information you give about yourself and your family member. Application fees for residence permits. Number 4, questionnaire for the family member in Sweden. When the Swedish Migration Agency has received your application, your family member will get an email. The email contains instructions on how to log in to a questionnaire containing questions about his or her income, accommodation, and your relationship. Your family member should answer the questions within 14 days. If no email has been received, it is a good idea to check that it has not ended up in the folder for junk mail. Read more about the maintenance requirements. Number 5, book an appointment at the embassy or consulate general. Once the Swedish Migration Agency has reviewed the application and questionnaire, you will receive an email in which we ask you to book a time for an interview at the embassy or consulate general. Swedish embassies and consulates general link opens a new window. Number 6, interview. Take along your passport and the originals of the documents you submitted with your application. Children applying will also need to attend. During the interview, you will need to answer questions about your relationship with the person in Sweden. If you receive a residence permit, you will also receive a residence permit card. The card contains your fingerprints and photograph. Your fingerprints and photograph are only stored on the card's chip. If you need a visa to travel to Sweden, you will need the residence permit card when traveling to Sweden. You will therefore be photographed and asked to leave your fingerprints when you have your interview. If you do not need a visa to travel to Sweden, you may travel without the residence permit card and leave your documents for the residence permit card with the Swedish Migration Agency after you arrive in Sweden. Read more about residence permit cards. Number 7, the migration agency processes the application to enable the Swedish Migration Agency to make a decision on your case. All information must be given and all necessary documentation must be attached to your application. This means the processing time will be shorter if you include everything that is required for the start, and then if additional information is given at a later stage. Please note that the migration agency may, in some cases, need to investigate your application further, even if all details are complete and all documents are provided. If the migration agency needs more information from you, the Swedish Migration Agency will contact you if we need further information or documentation from you. You do not need to contact the Swedish Migration Agency if you have applied online and the Swedish Migration Agency asks you to provide additional information. You should do so email. You should not send documents to the Swedish Migration Agency by regular post. You can read more about providing additional information in support of your case in the email the Swedish Migration Agency sends if you need to submit further information. Waiting for a decision. The decision must already have been taken before you travel to Sweden. While you are waiting for a decision, you are able to apply for a visa for a temporary visit to Sweden. It is the embassy in the country where you live who will examine your application for a visa, and each application is always assessed individually. On condition for being granted a visa is that the embassy return home after it has expired, and that you wait there for the decision on your application for a residence permit. A residence permit cannot normally be granted if you are in Sweden. And that is all our news for today. Go to our link and submit in and press the bell to join our link. Thank you very much for listening. Buddha.